This is Abe, and I just want to let you guys know that we have a store, and you can buy T-shirts. You can buy. Mike's got this rap album.
Rap tracks?
Yeah, he's working on it.
You got rap tracks. You got some audiobooks on there, and we're adding more all the time.
All a la carte.
Yeah, and we just felt like, aside from me just tweeting, we should just mention it on a podcast so people know. So yeah, you can check out the Small Beans merch store. Please do. We put a lot of work into it, and there's a lot of talented artists who did as well at smallbeans.bigcartel.com.
Hey, listen.
I'm interested to see how this goes because I clearly am I'm attacking GoldenEye from a very different perspective than you guys because I'm not a gamer. I wasn't a gamer.
Oh,
then.
that's why you have to do this.
You know,
that's why you're the perfect person for this.
Is GoldenEye the only game that you've logged significant hours on ever?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
But definitely, but like since then, yes.
Right.
So like
The
my
end.
life up to that point.
GoldenEye was the end for you.
GoldenEye was the climax
we'll
of your
get to it.
gaming career.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
We're rolling, dude. We're
are we?
in.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to another episode of 1Upsmanship. The best ship since the friendship. It's better than the friendship because it's about video games.
Wow.
Here's the first mate on my friendship, Adam Ganzer. Say hey, Adam.
Hey, I'm going to salute you, but not the thing you just said.
No, it was really, really bad by my standards. I'm usually a quicker thinker than that. Staying in. And with us is a fabulous guest that we've been meaning to have on for a long time. The noob himself.
I am the noob.
Can you please say hey to the people?
Hey, Greg Burke here.
Woo!
Yeah.
The noob.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
Good to be here.
I feel like people want to know, is it all an act, Greg?
It really isn't. What you guys will definitely learn during this podcast is that I actually am the character I played in Noob. I have very little game knowledge. I had a lot of game stuff going back to the 90s, but since then, very little. And I don't know shit about the actual mechanics of games.
And in case you're a recent Small Beans fan, I just want to at least set up context around that. Greg and I were in a long-running series on Crack together called Escort Mission. Video series.
Oh, right, yeah.
Where we were the two leads. I mean, there were no other characters ever.
No.
And we were roomies, and it was like poking holes in video games. Greg played the noob who didn't know anything about video games.
That's right.
What was the game we had you play that, you just lost your shit?
It was Titanfall. No, it's Titanfall.
Oh, no, we did
No,
Doom,
it was the
but
new
first-
Doom, though.
But I think first we did Titanfall.
Yeah, and you were like, who are you? You kept saying,
it
who are
scared
you?
the shit out of me. I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
But then the new-
And then we did Doom, and I thought I was ready for it,
Yeah.
and it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
what the
yeah.
fuck is going on.
Yeah.
That was actually just delightful to watch in the way of watching a child play a video game because
Yeah, 'cause the first
you
time
were
I played it
truly
in
blown away by
20 years?
Right.
maybe?
Yeah.
20 years.
You were really, really into Titanfall.
You're like,
Yeah.
I assumed the technology had advanced, but this looks fucking amazing.
Right, because people people will probably think this is interesting or germane at least. They never see the video games when they're recording these episodes. So they're faking playing these games. So Greg often didn't see the game that he was talking about until the episode released.
Right, are we going in deep on Escort Mission?
No,
right
no,
now?
I'm
Is
just
that what
gonna
we're
say
doing?
this. I'm just gonna say this.
Because one of you guys, if you guys might be interested in this, Michael has a photographic memory. So most of the time he would have the script entirely memorized, and I wouldn't. So when we were recording those episodes, we were recording 3 or 4 episodes in a single day.
Yeah, usually
about
4.
6 or 7 pages each.
Yeah.
And we would need the screen on the TV to actually just have the script on.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't actually be looking at the video game. We'd be looking at the script as we were talking.
Like a teleprompter.
Right.
Yeah.
And most of these games, almost all the games, I'd never, ever seen before or played.
Now, do not go back and watch the episodes watching for our eyes scanning left to right because it will ruin it. You
Not
can never
yours.
unsee it.
It's not so
You can
bad.
see that
Maybe,
we're
not
reading.
yours.
It's not so bad.
I would still read the screen because you can't not. You know what I mean? If the support is there just out of eye line,
Right, yeah.
it's hard to not look at the
This is why most of the time we would cut to those side angles and not the frontal
little
ones,
side.
where it's
Yeah.
harder
Do you
to
remember
tell.
the very first episode was a one-er shot?
Oh,
So we
yeah.
had
Yeah.
to truly memorize it.
We shot 2 in the same night, right? We shot Minecraft
And BioShock.
and BioShock.
BioShock was a one-er.
BioShock, and I fucking loved that video.
Yeah.
Because I was pretending to. No, I was eating food during that one take. I was doing my Brad Pitt acting with the food in my mouth. And then we shot that whole thing. Was it meant to be a one shot?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the plan.
Which is why that's one of the downfalls of when reality hits your series. Right, of course, we Abe and me want it to be, or, Adam and me, whoever's collaborating, want it to be like at every level, like, oh, let's do some kind of visual strategy. Then you make one, it takes all night, or two, and then Cracked says, you got to make 3 a night or we're not going to make our money back. And we instantly go, well, all the good shots out the window because you just don't have time.
Right.
Like After Hours, there were early episodes where Justin Vire, the original director, would be like, now I want a tracking shot where the camera is on the waitress's platter and she carries, so you're like looking at the food, like that shot from Swingers or whatever. And we got 1 episode that night. And then they're like, we really need you to get 4 a night. And we're like, well, we ain't doing shots anymore. Like This show is just that shot and that shot.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what happens. That's how money works.
Well, let's get into format. We are talking about a game we probably should have covered earlier, but we were waiting for Greg to become available. He's in such high demand.
Yeah. I just felt like this is the perfect one.
Oh, I was looking at Adam for the trumpet flare.
I have to say, normally when Mike breaks into spontaneous mouth song, the guests are like just stare at him with like sort of like they're frozen with terror.
Oh, really?
This is one of the things that makes Greg unique to this podcast is that Greg immediately took the cue and jumped in with it.
I'm just used to Escort mission. That's what we used to do in Escort mission.
Jumped right in. I loved it.
Greg has improv instincts.
Yes.
He has sans things. Yeah, so we're talking about GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64. And I believe checkpoints were just the completion of missions. So let's
Pretty much
finish our first mission, which was saying hi to Greg and welcoming him to the show.
Yeah. And invading that Russian bathroom in the silo.
I'm also not going to explain the format of the show to you because you're so much.
Yeah. Greg is going to learn this podcast by doing it.
You're funny when you're confused.
I don't know what you're talking about right
Greg.
now.
This is my favorite
So
thing.
There's checkpoints within the podcast.
We passed our first checkpoint and entered
Like-
the speed run. As usual, we invite the guest to do the speed run.
What's the speed run?
In the speed run, the guest is required to give the shortest, most concise summary of what this game is for the
Jesus
audience.
Christ.
Trying to cover all the major points and do it in an amount of time that doesn't bore me.
Doesn't bore you.
Doesn't bore me specifically.
Fuck you, Adam. Okay. GoldenEye was a first-person shooter made in 1997 for the N64, based on the 1995 action film starring Pierce Brosnan as James Bond. It's a first-person shooter that has you playing James Bond that goes through multiple levels to save the world. With graphics that are slightly above Minecraft, but secretly the best part of the game is the multiplayer aspect. And that's, I think, it.
Stop the clock.
That was a fantastic
People
speed run.
cannot see.
Yeah.
Adam and I have legitimate, shocked expressions. You covered genre, gameplay, timing, source material, graphics in like 90 seconds.
Yeah.
That is by far the most technically proficient speedrun we've ever had.
The noob has become the leapt.
Now, can you explain the origin of leat? The word leat.
Oh, no. Lead is based on a 1995 film starring Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, he's just on a loop.
Carlito's Way.
Dude, it's written.
Carlito's Way.
He just has a spiel written on his arm. That's all he did. He's reading it again.
That was genuinely impressive. I'm like legitimately thrilled by
it
that.
It hit every.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the few games I legitimately played.
Yeah.
So.
But also, that doesn't mean you can summarize it effectively on unprompted
What
with
that
a
tells me
condescending
is
prompt.
you've done a lot of commercial auditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you go in and they go like, can you just like talk about the burger like it matters to you?
Sure,
And you're
Burger
a vet.
King
And you
is
go
a-
like, yeah, okay, here we go.
Bacon double cheeseburger.
It's based on a 1995.
95 cheeseburger starring Pierce Brosnan. Yeah.
Saves the world from a cheeseburger.
No, Trevelyan, right? Is that his name?
Yeah.
So the next section is the rants portion. And this is more where we talk about, we try not to interrupt each other. We also keep it tight. And then we're like out of format. You're going to be fine after this.
Okay.
You get to say whatever you want.
But we're going to go,
Cool.
our cute little thing is player 1, player 2, player 3.
Okay.
We're each going to do our run, which is just, now, why are you excited to talk about this? Why, what are your top level thoughts on this game that you think you're going to unpack? I'll go... No, I went first. So Adam will
me to
be
go first?
P1,
Yeah.
I'll be P2, and you'll be P3.
Okay.
Rants.
Here we go. GoldenEye is my favorite first-person shooter ever, I think. I don't think it's the best one. It's not the one I play the most now, but I think all time it's my favorite. I was the right age when it came out, which is in my teens, and it's the first time that I ever had a game system where 4 or so people could get together and play online, or not even online, but just, I think you had to do split screen with GoldenEye, if I remember correctly. And I happen to have a couple of friends with big televisions, and they would all pop down with those controllers, and we would pop on License to Kill and Slappers Only, and we'd slap each other to death, and it was the best. I played this game more than any single game I ever played until like Destiny or something, until I became like horribly addicted to video games and tried to make a career out of that.
You just ride that D train, man.
Yeah,
He rides that D.
you really, yeah, you have to.
I don't know what that means. What's that
Destiny,
mean?
don't worry about
I
it.
love that D train.
The audience knows.
They sure do. I think that going back and playing it now, it's less innovative than I would have thought at the time. It's a little bit more clunky
What
than
does
you would think.
that mean?
That's a good question.
Less innovative than you thought at the time.
When you played GoldenEye at the time, especially if
I'm sorry,
like,
was I not supposed to stop you? I'm
No.
just realizing that.
That's like technically what we
Later?
say we're gonna do. Is
I
not
lay out
interrupt
okay,
each other.
things that I'm going to
But
say
we've
later.
rarely gotten all the way through
I'm a
without,
noob, man. I
without
don't know
someone
the
asking
rules.
to like, can you clarify or yeah.
I'm
So
like
it's-
looking
Yeah.
cute in the corner. You know, I'm innocent. I don't know what's going on.
You
know what I mean?
you had your quarter up on the arcade machine and you just tagged in. That's all.
And then he kind of hovered. You like
Yeah.
kind of hovered with the quarter.
I also really
It's
go
quarter
hard
plus a
on
hover.
like the dad joke
Yeah.
puns and
You do love
I'm
those.
sorry.
You've really elevated your dad
well,
joke
I just
game.
try. No, like I always try to make everything we're doing into the image of a video game, like Rolodex it. No one cares about that.
I mean, you do, and so therefore,
Exactly.
that's good enough. Anyway, this game, I'm going to explain what I said. So when I say that it's less innovative than you remember, go back and play it now. The way they decided to do the controls are like what? They're just not that intuitive, especially when you consider that Doom was before, and that every first-person shooter after GoldenEye figured out how to do controllers better. This game didn't know how to do it, and that's weird. The ability to shoot a person in a body part and have them react is maybe one of the most important things in video game history.
Huge.
It's so like amazing to shoot a guy in the leg and then watch his blocky ass feel sad about it and like hurt and like oh. Also, just having gone back and rewatched some clips, the fact like it actually feels very faithful to being a James Bond story. It feels James Bondy, and not just because it is an imitation of the movie. Like it's because the scenarios that you run into, where like guards are not prepared, and there's like 3 of them in a room that shouldn't be doing what they're doing, and you blast them all to death with a machine gun, bloodlessly. Very James Bond, and it's great. You know, it's really fun that way. And I'll leave it at that.
Player 2 rant. Used my whole pre-prepared rant was about the localization
We're
of
supposed
the,
to pre-prepare these
of the-
rants.
Yeah.
We
no.
have sold you so
You'll-
far down the
Not
river,
cool,
my friend.
guys. Not cool.
You'll be graded from 1 to 10 at the end, and people will text in with their votes. I think my rant's just going to be ditto, because
Yeah.
the only thing I was prepared to discuss that I do think we should unpack further is that what as Adam said, localized body part shooting, I think is why the game was a success, and as silly as it sounds, is one of the most important gaming innovations in the history of gaming.
Yeah.
Which is why it became one of the best-selling games in the history of gaming.
It's like the second game or third game I remember that mattered from Nintendo 64. It was like Super Mario 64 and the Zelda game, Ocarina of Time, and then GoldenEye. And those are like the 3 big games from that console.
But there are other innovations that I want to unpack more, but not in the rant section. Passing the controller to our guest.
Jesus. I hope this makes sense. There's so much to say. I'll go off of what you guys have said so far already. Like the hitting body parts thing. That blew my mind. And again, so I'll preface all this shit by saying that I know very little about the history of games compared to Adam and Michael. Or
Any other object in this room you could name.
Just like gameplay, all that specific stuff I know very little about. So this is coming at it from someone who's a very casual gamer. That stuff blew my mind as far as like hitting body parts. And my greatest memories is playing GoldenEye with my friends late at night for the first time, and then realizing you could shoot the hat off of a guard, and then he doesn't even realize that the hat has been shot off of him.
If you got a silenced
you're
gun.
playing in stealth, and you shoot at him, or you throw a knife, and the hat just fucking pops off, and he just continues to stand there.
Yep.
I remember laughing my fucking ass off at like 16 when that happened for like
4 solid minutes or something.
Absolutely. Like everybody just like falling to the floor at the same exact time. So yeah, that was huge to me. And again, maybe I just don't know if this was around before. I don't think it was. Didn't feel like it was to me. The multiplayer aspect to me like was fucking huge, because up to that point, like you played like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter and stuff like that, or like sports games, and you could play that in a group of friends, but it never felt like an arcade. Like playing GoldenEye felt like it was an arcade in your friend's basement.
Totally.
Right.
It did.
You know what I mean?
That's a great summary.
And it was the first time that me or any of my friends made a physical object to affect the game. Like we made a cardboard that you put against the TV so that you couldn't see the other player's screen.
Oh, I see.
When you played multiplayer. We made
So either the cardboard piece has to be
That's
really
amazing.
long, or did you sit with your eyeballs like pretty close to the screen?
No, like we made a long piece of cardboard, and
so
if you were on
good.
top, you stood up, and if you were on the bottom, you sat on your
You
ass.
sat
That's
in the
so
lower left
good.
quadrant.
And we fucking made it. And we made it so that it attached to the TV screen. And like that's the first time I ever remember doing that.
Last
so
as
good.
well, probably.
And definitely for me. I don't know what happened afterwards, but yeah. And we made one that was for 2-person, and we made one that was for 4-player because you could play four people. So
And
we
you
had
just
2 of these fucking cardboard
just got
things.
laid constantly.
All the time, man. Girls
to
would come
take
down
breaks.
to that basement, be like, "Well, you guys making shit out of cardboard? Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
you want to see the 4-way divider or the 2-way? We got it all, girl.
When are you guys taking a break?
So that, I mean, to me, that's a huge thing. Like, so that I remember that vividly, like actually making a thing to affect the game. And putting it up. Also for me, and again, maybe this was around beforehand or not, but like saying, like when you got a group of friends together and saying like, facility, pistols, license to kill.
Yeah.
Like that was a code
Yep.
for exactly what you were about to play.
Yeah.
I don't know if that like, does that relate to
Yeah,
anything
I'm
else at
just
that
waiting
time?
for the next section. I think that'll be a big talking point.
But
yeah.
like that was huge for me. Like, and I, as not a gamer, that felt like a very gamer thing to me back then. And it felt like it made me feel cool or whatever. It made me feel
This
like
is
a gamer.
very gamer.
Facility.
I feel very gamer today.
Temple, slappers only. You know,
Yeah.
Temple.
no radar. You know, like that was a huge fucking.
The
Like you would
stats.
just
I
say
like
those
the
Had to
things.
get rid of the radar. Had to get rid of the radar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But you would say those things immediately. I could still hear echoes in my mind of people being like, "No Oddjob," like people screaming "No Oddjob" because No Oddjob was a fucking cheat. If you chose Oddjob, I was gonna kick your fucking ass. Because it was bullshit. Or if we played 4 multiplayer and like some noob who showed up for the first time chose Oddjob, then the other 3 guys were just gonna fucking kill Oddjob over and over again for choosing Oddjob.
And then when he asks why the fuck you guys at
Right.
the end, you'll explain.
And then we explain it to him.
We don't play Oddjob
Right.
around these parts.
And then you know what? Then he knew. From then on, he fucking knew what to do.
Can you shoot Oddjob's hat off? Is it a detachable?
I don't
In
know.
multiplayer?
I don't remember that.
remember.
I don't know. I can't believe they included Oddjob.
That was
when you
one of
think
the
about
first cheats that I remember becoming virally famous.
Yes.
Everyone
Oddjob.
knew, countrywide, all high school kids knew, you don't play Oddjob. Oddjob is bullshit.
Yep.
Right.
That's how it became
Yep.
universally known.
Same
That's
as
the first time
Jaws.
I remember something
Yeah.
like that.
Nobody
And
plays Jaws either. Yeah.
Well,
For the opposite
I mean,
reason.
Yeah, for the opposite reason.
Right.
Right.
All right, well, let's rubber stamp our mission dossier. I believe is accurate.
that does happen.
Yes.
In
That does
this
happen.
game. Yeah.
Not to be technical.
Also, Moneypenny usually will end each of these with some sexual
That's right.
comment for no reason.
Let's flirt with Moneypenny and enter the bulk, the main section of the podcast, which we simply call. Now, see, last time we turned it into a bit, and now the pressure's
Now you're
like,
really-
now this is a fucking thing.
Let him do it.
what's
Let him
going
do it.
No,
Let him do it.
Game on.
chicken. You chicken. He tends to sing the word game on.
I
and
started
as long
by
as he
simply
can.
identifying. Now we're doing game on, which is the portion where anyone can talk and interrupt anyone at any time, and we're just chatting. And I evolved it into a song, and now I'm backsliding.
Yeah. Because I made him too self-conscious. It's my fault.
I don't get a song.
Hey, ma, ha, ha, ha. What was that?
Do you want
the game on? It's like the adventures. Don't hit pause because the game it is on.
Keep playing.
You know
I
what?
don't know much, but I
gotta
know
keep that
it's
game
on. All right.
Wait,
so-
no, I'm sorry. I want to comment on this. I feel like this is a really important moment for you, Mike. You
Why?
finally found the one who will jump right in on these kinds of bits.
I mean,
I love it. I love this right now.
I mean, I'll just put full bro cards on the table.
Put your balls on the table.
We're only 19 minutes and 50 seconds in, and I don't think we've been across each other on a Small Beans podcast yet, have we? Because you did rough stuff, but I engineer that.
right? Yeah.
Have you done
Yeah.
Frame Rate,
No.
our movie one?
No, I've been waiting to be asked
So
to do
we're only
it.
20 minutes in, and I already had the thought legit I should find something to co-host with Greg.
I was thinking the same. Honestly, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man, you guys
We're
are fun
tight.
together.
We're kind of in the pocket right now.
Yeah.
How many hours did we spend shooting Escort mission?
That's
I mean,
true, yeah.
It's true.
So Adam's out.
Yeah, we're just gonna go full. Nobody knows video games, but Mike.
no,
in this
your
one.
audience
And
would
Greg,
get so sick of me not knowing shit about any of this stuff.
You're ready to cover the return of Obra Dinn tonight at 7, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely know what that is.
Okay, good. But yeah. So just talking about GoldenEye,
Yeah.
generally, I do think. Oh, by the way, yeah. So let's go around the horn.
I don't know where we are right now, to be honest.
Game
What
on,
are we
which is
talking about?
We're in
whatever.
Game On. He's saying
Normal
it
chat.
a while, for a while.
Normal chat. But I just want to know, so we get it out of the way and can move on to other elements, because I think there's other important elements. What everyone's multiplayer predilections were, because I'm curious whether there were any differences, or if every friend group eventually reached this homeostasis where across the country. Because for us it was facility is the best, temple is the worst.
Yeah, I hated Temple.
The stacks is good.
Yeah.
And-
Archives is really good too. I didn't
that's
hate
what I
Temple.
meant. I'm sorry, I
didn't
mean
hate
archives.
Temple.
When I
Archives
say
is
stacks,
great.
I mean archives.
But I mean, I played stacks a lot too. But go ahead.
And by far, after you just play regularly and you start getting better at the game, when you winnow it down, the only things you want to end up doing are one kill, slappers only, proximity mines only.
Proximity mines.
So that you're constantly just tossing mines
I
at each other
love- Yep.
and
And you
running
forget
away.
where they are too, so you end up killing yourself.
How simultaneously triumphant and hated was the first friend in your group who figured out you could put a mine where an ammo box was going to respawn, and it would obscure the mine, and you wouldn't know it was there, or armor.
We had a rule. We had a rule
totally.
for it. We had a rule for that.
We didn't,
really?
We
Yeah, we had a
allowed
rule
it,
for it.
But I mean, that moment is like a moment, like nowadays when they have competitive Smash Brothers and someone figures out, oh no, Ice Climbers is the best because they can do this cheat or whatever. The kid who figured that out, it's like Ben Franklin discovering electricity. I was like, guys, the game is glitching. I don't know. I just keep getting ammo. It just keeps blowing up. Alex, why are you laughing? I think it's glitching. We got to stop. Alex, what the fuck? And he's like, you can mine the ammo. We're like, you are a god.
And then you build a cardboard statue of him.
And then there was a big conversation about okay, do we make a rule that you don't do that? Or do we
Just
allow
imagine
that?
you live next to a box factory. There's just
Constant
endless
cardboard
cardboard coming through that house.
And then we'd also do golden gun only, and RCP 90 only was fun too. sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
On the train, RCP 90 only.
But
is
you know
quite
what you do?
fun.
Right,
you
yeah.
do end up moving away from machine guns after a while. Like after you've played the game enough, you move away from that. Like you move to either explosions or like one-shot kills. Like it's not as fun to knock each other
Well, this
down
is another
slowly.
thing for me. So for me, I loved fucking chaos in
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
Because coming from Doom, that's what I loved about Doom. Doom was just To me, Doom scared the shit out of me.
Because
when
you're
I
like,
was a
there's
kid.
80 things happening.
It scared the shit out of me. Just like the tone of it, the vibe of it, it all scared me. The noises of stuff like just on the other side of the wall. and stuff.
Were you raised religious?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting.
Well, because the special impact of demonic, I've talked to people who are like, and it was especially scary to me because I'm religious. So it's like,
Oh, really?
yeah,
No,
you're
you're in hell.
thinking
isn't
about
it?
hell and
You're
demons
killing
and the
demons in
devil.
hell.
Yeah.
Some people might be disturbed by that.
I don't know. I mean,
Right.
I was like 11 or 12 playing it. It scared the shit out of
Like
me. I don't
I
know.
killed 7
What does
demons on my
religion
own
have
time.
to do with it? Yeah.
Well, because like my girlfriend was extra scared of exorcism because she believes no longer, but she did believe fully that you really could be possessed. And so that it was almost like a documentary.
So
like
you're messing with something serious.
if you believe this could happen. This shit could happen.
Yeah, I get that. But it's scary. I mean, just as someone playing it, like as someone who just went to church on Sunday, didn't really.
And we're like, it's just a game. You were still like,
church is just a game.
No. I mean,
church is just a game. I mean, it scared the shit out of me, but it's just a game.
Hey, the game is the game.
Eventually, I played Slappers Only.
Slappers Only. You go for that Eucharist. You just start slapping the priest, Monsignor. He's into it. Maybe 2 into it, right? What are we talking about, guys? What's this podcast called? What are we talking about?
This is our podcast. Did you see Spotlight and all the buzz around
Spotlight?
it? We're gonna pull
Spotlight.
the lid back on priests, sexual abuses by priests. That's our podcast.
Yeah.
It's like My Favorite Murder, but every episode we reveal
a
new sexual abuse
by the Catholic, covered up by the Catholic
Your
Church.
Patreon's gonna fucking explode.
Yeah.
Okay, what the hell was I saying?
You were saying a lot of things.
Okay, so shit, Doom. Why did I bring up Doom?
Doom scared the shit out of you.
Doom scared the
so
shit out of me.
many things happen at once. If we're looking backwards.
So again, as someone who wasn't a gamer, one of the things I loved about GoldenEye was just the chaos of it all. So I loved playing fucking power weapons on that.
Oh, yeah.
I loved the proximity mines. I loved doing all that shit. I loved playing like the fucking shooting the rocket launchers in like the archives where like.
And they had a grenade launcher too, right? Didn't they have a grenade launcher?
Did they have a grenade launcher? No, Doom did. I don't know if.
This is definitely another
I need to look
inflection
at
point.
I think it was just
I
think it was just rockets. I think it was just missiles.
This is definitely another inflection point because I also saw in my friend group when everyone I knew. I don't think I saw this again till like Guitar Hero and Rock Band is the only other time. Oh, Halo also. Everyone I knew who played video games was playing this game at someone's house every afternoon. And the other cultural thing is there were two kinds of players, and they would we would whine and bitch at each other constantly. People who are like, no, nothing explosive. It ruins like the elegance and the art. It's not professional. I've spent hours
not professional.
honing. And then other people who are like, but then all we end up doing is what we would call the dance of death, where, like in real gunfights, not true. You just circle around each other clockwise in a room, seeing who is more accurate at trying to get a headshot.
You know what the best of that was? The best of that was knives only, because it was so hard to kill someone with a knife. So like you see the other person trying to aim up perfectly.
I know, I'm trying to kill you too, motherfucker.
Again, it had all of us on the fucking floor laughing our asses off.
And then the people who are like, I'm just here to have fun, load up that rocket launcher.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was so many, and that's part of the great thing about it was that there were so many different levels. There was so much different enjoyment that you could get out of playing the multiplayer, that it wasn't like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat where you're doing the same, where it's competitive, but you're doing the same moves over and over again. Like there were so many different levels you could just jump to if something got boring, and I don't know.
Did you care about the fact that it was James Bond?
I was just about to ask the exact same thing.
That it was James Bond. Well, first of all, GoldenEye sucked.
The movie?
I feel like I remember liking it, but I tried to watch it again a couple years ago.
It's
and
not good.
Bad.
It's not good, but for Pierce Brosnan's catalog,
I think he's great.
Is a good Bond.
He's a fantastic Bond.
But the movies were
The script is silly.
Like very cheesy, very
I agree.
Cute.
I think GoldenEye is the best of his movies, but none of them are good movies.
I thought the last one was pretty good, wasn't it?
Is that the one where he died almost, or died another day?
Another day.
Was that the last one?
The bad guy has like diamonds exploded into his face.
Oh my god! Yeah, he's
diamond
like,
cheeks.
and there's an invisible car, and it's like driving on the ice.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's called a Vanquish, but they call it a Vanish.
I think he makes a fantastic Bond.
I do.
He's very good.
For Bond movies, I love the Daniel Craig grounded, gritty style.
Sure,
Totally
we've all
different,
moved there
but
emotionally.
When I think of James Bond, I think of Pierce Brosnan.
Yes.
Even though I don't, that's not the best set of movies, but he is James Bond in my mind.
I still think of Sean Connery, and not because I'm a
I
purist.
didn't watch him as much, so
It's because
You love to hit women. That's why you think of Sean Connery, Adam.
you just love the gravitas of that guy who inflates like a balloon and pops on the ceiling. I don't think that was Connery, but
I don't think so either. But I think it's because the silliness of James Bond fits better with the 60s, like all that like weird
But see, that's
espionage.
I don't like the silliness of James Bond.
But you never get away from it. You never really get away from it.
In even the Daniel Craig stuff?
It's
Like
because
what?
James Bond is silly. Like it's a silly idea.
I don't
Like,
know. I wouldn't agree with
there's
that.
no real spy shit like that.
You murder a million
Well, no, but-
people.
but
It
here's
doesn't
the
seem to
thing.
have
So
any
you're saying, like,
consequences.
yes,
you're having sex
exactly.
the whole time.
Right. So
It's
you're
just-
comparing it to
it's fantasy.
to saying like
Right.
in real life is this here?
He's
so
just
what
saying
I
in
would
real
say
life
is
being
my
a spy
mindset
is
when
not
I'm
like
watching
that.
those movies is if this was real, what would it look like? And to me, that's the Daniel Craig stuff,
Yes.
rather than the Pierce Brosnan.
That's definitely
stuff.
what they were trying to do.
That's an interesting way
And
to do
that's
it.
how that's why like Casino Royale and Skyfall makes sense to me, and I don't like the other two movies, Spectre and
No. Spectre
Quantum of
and
Solace.
Quantum of Solace.
Back to the game.
I'm
but
sorry.
this does matter. This does matter because it matters because how much do we care about the James Bond movie that informs this game? Not that much.
That's what I wanted to say. Is it transcended the franchise that it existed within?
Well, also there's this
100%.
ton of stuff in the game that's not in the movie.
Right.
Like the whole jungle level. There's no jungle in
There is
GoldenEye.
there is a jungle. Like he walks through the jungle to get to this place. It's
Right.
like,
They turn
but
it
it's
into
not a
a
level.
level,
Right.
Yeah, it's
Right.
It's
It's
not a fight
level.
sequence.
Yeah.
They, but I think the gameplay mechanics of this game became what you associate with GoldenEye.
Definitely.
You can
Right.
play. I would sometimes forget that we're James Bond characters. Like it really doesn't matter.
right.
But I
Yeah.
also wanted to talk about. It's interesting that I think if I didn't say what I'm about to say, we could go the whole episode only talking about the multiplayer experience.
Right.
I was the friend who, I mean, I'm a sensitive guy now. It only gets worse as you go back in time. I was not good enough at GoldenEye to ever win. And my one friend, Griffin, would just demolish me every time. So we would
Your
play.
one friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hundreds of times. And I was like, the board was like 0 to 98 wins. And he'd go home. And I would go cry my eyes out, because it just felt so bad.
Right.
I don't like competition, so like I hated the multiplayer, as I hate almost all multiplayer
wow.
games. Also, I had a small TV, literally like
Yeah, that's a challenge.
we
with
had a
this.
12-inch across TV, which used to exist, children, and
Right.
we would play 4-player split screen on a 12-inch TV,
No,
all like
that's-
cramming
I
together.
mean, for me, the 4-player, even on a big TV, was just sort of chaos. I never liked the 4-player that much.
It didn't run that well either. It was very. It was
Right.
very split. Like
So what I
scattered.
wanted to bring up about the single player that I do think is a huge innovation that brings me back to the game again and again. I still play GoldenEye sometimes. Is
Do you?
Yeah, definitely. The tiered mission objectives. Maybe that's been done before, but this was the first game where I was like, oh, I just have to get to the plane. Or actually, it was the reverse. I was like, man, I cannot do this. And then I realized, oh, I only have to do top 2 of the 6 things.
Right.
And the mission is still complete. And then as I get better, I can go back and do all the, and the extra stuff really was like extra. It involved doing things you didn't do in the other playthroughs.
Right.
So like the levels sort of opened up and opened up. And I just think the level design is also phenomenal in terms of storytelling. Like everyone fucking remembers that the facility starts in the vents and there's a guy taking a shit right when
Well,
you
like in
peek
the movie.
out.
There's 6 of them.
In the movie,
Yeah,
that's what happens in the movie
exactly.
too. I mean, I fucking love that. But the thing about the levels having different objectives,
Yeah.
And I don't know. Again, you guys would know this better than I would. Were there other games at that time where like the difficulty level had different objectives too?
That's what I'm saying. Is I,
I
can't
believe
think
so.
of one.
I think
but
Doom
possibly.
might have had that. I think Doom might have
I
had.
don't
that.
But it
think
was
so.
what I liked was
I think
Did you play it on? Did you play it on the harder ones?
Yeah, the enemies came at you harder, but I don't think they were
they didn't
different
have
objectives.
separate things?
Yeah.
or the objective would be like
Or Wolfenstein?
kill a higher. In Wolfenstein, it was just like don't get hit and beat the level.
Right. It was. Yeah. It was more
It's
about
not
that
the same
stuff.
as like now go to the like you never interact with the biplane.
Right.
And you've already played this level. Now there's a section where you have to go to the biplane and do something.
Also,
I
Doom-
mean,
That's cool.
I mean, Mario World did it. It was unique to
Stars
first-person
are that.
shooters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doom was
Let us
also
get
more
excited
about.
about
No, I mean this is. I don't know this stuff. So like, but Doom was
You don't
also
get to be excited.
And I would
Doom was
say-
more about just getting like a key card somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just the color
But
key
like
cards.
007, you know, like the more difficulty you had to like talk to someone and not let them get killed and like get to this thing and like get to that thing on different parts of the map.
Yeah,
and,
and the events that were embedded, I thought were so cool. Like the 2 that come to top of mind that were huge moments for me in the game were like taking out your laser watch and meticulously cutting out the train panel before the bomb goes
oh
off.
yeah, uh-huh.
And jumping off. I mean, the end of level 1, jumping off
Right.
the
Oh, that's-
dam feels so triumphant.
Is there a better ending? to a level 1 in any game than that?
Since, but maybe not. Like
At that point.
I think to Adam's point where he said it did feel like a movie. That's what I mean. Is
it felt more like a movie
back in those days. The vast majority of games based on a movie would have been like, it's a box and you walk around and shoot people.
Right.
And the wallpaper on the box is colored like that one scene. And then the next level, the wallpaper is colored like the next scene. This was like, we're going to recreate moments from the movie. He did the laser watch thing on the train, so we're going to figure out how to do that. That's not fully unique to them, but they fucking knocked it out of the park.
I think I've been thinking about your point. I think the way I would say it is that GoldenEye made you feel like you were shooting people in a way that you didn't feel in first-person shooters before. Like certainly Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
You were shooting people, but they felt more like minions, like not that different than
Right, Wolfenstein,
like
you weren't able to feed that
Doom.
desire
Right,
of
that
just
hunger.
taking out
Right.
humans.
But no, but
living,
for real though,
breathing humans.
But for real though, like when you shoot a person and they react as though they've been shot in an area of their body, a thing that you don't need to play a game. You don't need that.
And bullet holes that appear exactly where you hit them.
Yes. Yeah.
Or even on the wall exactly where you shot. There's
and
a bullet hole
that's
there.
why it's so that's why it's so important that this is a James Bond game, because it allows the license for that to exist without it being like, what the hell are we doing? We're making you kill
I see what you're
people.
saying.
And
Right,
also,
And like
yeah.
but it does fill a desire. That's the truth. People do want this in games, right?
I think it's interesting, and I actually think it's one of the most important points to unpack about the history of gaming, that like comic books, which have come into their own, I think, in a more adult way in the last like 25 years, I think video game and rap, I think, video gaming is a medium that has been pigeonholed in a way that is starting to break away, and I think that's positive, because I do think it's weird how if you look back at the history of video games and you don't, like, not deeply, and you're just like a top level analysis, you would be like, what are video games? Murder simulators. They're an increasingly sophisticated series of simulating what it would be like to kill someone in battle. Why is that? Why are humans like that? And that's interesting to me. And I think part of the answer is game mechanics, part of the answer is cultural. But my point is that there's no reason it needs to be that way. A video game is just an interactive experience. And I'm happy that more and more games don't do that. Do you think it speaks to, like, Adam, some innate desire to kill, or what?
We clearly have
What's your theory?
We clearly have that.
But is that why video games are that?
I mean, I think we want it. I don't know why. I think if they had offered me different choices that weren't about killing people, I might have played those games too, or instead. But that's not what they made. Like, ask yourself, why would we make this?
That is
because
what
somebody.
I'm
I know.
asking.
But I mean,
interesting.
but it also answers the question. Like, we make because we want it,
Right.
You know, like, and I do think that GoldenEye offered a gentle way for regular people, like people who are not gamers, who are not going to play Doom or not going to play Quake. They're not going to play this like gore fest stuff, to like explore that in a harmless, in quotes, way.
Yeah.
And that is maybe the most important thing about the game.
I just think it would be weird if someone was like, what are novels? And you said, it's like a thing you scan your eyes over and you engage your imagination to feel what it would feel like to take a human life. Like,
Right.
if all
Right.
novels were about killing, we would be like, novels are weird.
Yeah.
So it is weird to me when you step back and you're like, why is 80% of gaming about like,
killing?
I
Right.
wonder what it would be like to kill a robot. I wonder what it would be like to kill a zombie. I wonder what it would be like to force the player to kill a bunch of real people. I'm now referencing the No Russians level of Call of Duty, a really famous level where before the level starts, it says, do you want to skip? It's a pretty rough level. And of course, as a kid, you're like, fuck no, I want to see it even more now. And all it is you're undercover as a terrorist. I'm explaining this to Greg listeners. And he's
he is
like,
wrapped with
and he
fascination.
goes like, he goes, murder all these civilians, and you do it. You murder a bunch of people as they scream and beg for mercy and flee the airport. And the level fades to black, and they're like, good job, you completed the mission.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
It makes you walk through a terrorist attack.
And
it's not
participate.
it makes you participate. You don't have to shoot a person, I guess. But
You fail the mission, and it resets you if you don't.
If you shoot an innocent person?
If you don't shoot any civilians, it asks you again, do you want to skip the level? You can always
you can
it.
skip it. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. I guess for just narrative reasons, it makes you do it. I found when I played the level that I never enjoyed it. Like there was never a point where I was like, oh, this was cool, or I liked the experience of it, or thought it was cool narratively.
But I guess
some people might. I don't know.
But I'm wondering if it's truly an urge to kill or just an urge to prove dominance in a structured way. Because when you like got someone in GoldenEye, I would get the rush of I beat my friend.
Exactly.
I'm
beat my
superior
friend
for a moment.
Yeah.
No, but I didn't get the rush of that's probably what it feels like to kill someone. I want to know what that feels like. I bet it feels good.
I don't think GoldenEye.
Like, I didn't equate it with bloodlust.
No,
like
I don't think
real
GoldenEye is
bloodlust.
offering that. I think it's giving you the piece of that everybody wants without any of the shame attached to it, or any of the darkness attached to that.
And I guess I always wonder about, because like you probably don't know the game Manhunt. Or any game that's trying to be as realistic, because that's also a subgenre where they're like, we're leaning into it. Yeah, you play a serial killer, and our main point is you just do the worst shit to the people, and you get to do it yourself. There are games that market to that desire. What happens when we have fully immersive virtual reality games that look as good as Avengers and shit, and you plug it in, and it's just you like stabbing your family members in the throat?
Right.
Like I was never the person to say video games are warping the youth, but if I saw like my child playing like Flamethrower Thanksgiving and you download avatars that look like your family and it's supposed to be like fun, I'd be like, this isn't fun, this is horrific, this is warping your mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we've all seen Minority Report, right? You know how he goes to that place that programmed...
Listeners, I'm still trying to play catch up here if you're wondering why I haven't spoken in about 5 minutes. I don't know what the fuck these guys are talking about.
Wait, so do you
the
not...
innate desire to kill, you brought it up first.
Yeah, when you have played video games that were about shooting, did it ever occur to you why you want to shoot things?
Or in general, why do people love shooting, pretending to shoot each other?
Well, I think to me it's like... it's all a reflection of society, right? And society is about being the hero. You want to be the hero. So it's in a visual aspect, that's what movies are about. In a video game aspect, that's what it's about too.
What does a hero do? Shoot lots of people.
Visually, yeah. No, I mean, like you kill to save the day. That's what visually it's like in America. If you're looking at a visual narrative to be a hero, that's what it is, right? And in books you mentioned before, I think that's not visual, right? So that's more about thought. That's more about figuring out my life. So I feel like that's not the same as, like you were saying about how why books aren't about killing people.
Or that it would be weird if they were.
Because it's more about thought. It's more about thinking through your life rather than visually seeing what a hero is.
Yeah.
You're thinking about what a hero is.
Somewhat,
so
but
like
it's
those
so...
are maybe two different things.
I think an important point I always want to underline is I'm a lover of dissociating media from content, which is a weird thing to say, but what I mean by that is I just simply think it's a fact, because I would argue that there are plenty of novels that, like Harry Potter is not thinking about your life. It's trying to conjure film-like images and keep you engaged in that way. And I think you can point out many, many, many books that do everything, because books as a media, have actually been around long enough to become post-genre, and like a book can be about anything. And I just think it's interesting in human history how you see, or in the art history, I do think you see all media get introduced, get associated with a very rigid set of rules. Like even painting was originally heroic portraits of noblemen. That's what you do, And then someone's like, abstract, and everyone's like, that's insane. We shall riot for 3 days in the streets of Frankfurt. And you see music, and now comics are doing it. I also think like music was 90% love songs, like "Hold My Hand, Baby, We're Gonna Marry at Church," It
was
and
never
then
a
it
love
diversified. And I think video games will get there. I think they're in their infancy. I am not denying the innate desire to kill that humans have, but I also want to bring up that I don't think it's the only factor, in the sense that I don't think you can always analyze something as, well, that must speak deeply. That must be the only factors that reflects our consciousness. Because I also think it's simply because they programmed in a point-and-click interface. And if you're going to be turning a camera, and the goal of the game is to center the camera on the correct thing and interact as like a point, what does that remind you of? Pointing a gun at something and shooting it. It's like the tools are also conducive to that.
Right. But also, didn't that become popular because of like the market reaction to it? It's like, yes, this is what we want. You know what I mean?
I
Like GoldenEye.
I think it's a chicken and egg, like a mix of both, because, I mean, people designed the first games on computer because computers existed. You know what I mean? Like the way a computer worked predated gaming. So like the first games are all text-based because that's what the tool could do. So I'm just arguing that I think the tool also affects like the shape of what comes out the end of an art process.
I don't know where we are right now, to be honest. I'm a little lost.
I'm trying to argue that mankind is not driven solely by a desire to kill.
No, but nobody said solely, though.
No, I know. But I think it's interesting to bring in the other factors because I think a lot of people do analyze video games and come away with the vague impression that they're murder machines to sublimate man's natural desire to kill. And I do think they're evolving beyond that, and I'm happy to see that. That's all.
They are, yeah. They are. GoldenEye still kind of represents a fun gateway into... before GoldenEye, regular gamers, and by that I mean people who didn't own PCs and didn't played games on consoles. So maybe I just mean console gamers. Sorry.
That was me.
Yeah, right. Those people didn't play first-person shooters. That was not the dominant genre. You know what I mean? Like Call of Duty didn't exist then.
Right.
Like just the thing that is the only thing we make now, just like superhero movies. You know, first-person shooters.
We keep overstating. It's 70% of what we make. There are still games that totally train. We covered Edith Finch on this show.
Yes, that's all true. But the thing that drives the video game industry largely is first-person shooters, and GoldenEye is the moment where that started. It started there.
That's a very good point. That's true.
And I think it started there because it was an introduction to people who would not buy or play Doom and games like that, but still wanted or didn't realize they wanted the experience of shooting stuff. I think people do want that.
It was also kind of the first shooter where you felt like what I like a lot of FPS players now call drawing lines. Like you could accurately draw a line from very far away, meaning in Doom and Wolfenstein, the rooms are small enough that it's more like a juke left, juke right, conserve your ammo and use it appropriately given the situation thing. Whereas in GoldenEye multiplayer was the first game where you'd get someone like sniping you from 200 yards away and they feel really good because they can't believe they made the shot.
Sure.
And the machine was accurate enough to determine whether you made that shot that far away. And I do think that's become basically like if you take the violence out, that's what an FPS is. It's everyone just trying to draw lines to a distant point before the other person does.
Yeah, it's laser tag.
Yeah,
you know, it's laser.
You mean
it's
like now? That's what it is? Yeah.
Or in general. I mean, in general, that's what it is.
But I think you're right that GoldenEye, it's also just the sheer money. We cannot overstate how much money it made. It was like Jaws. Like Jaws happened, and the sheer amount of money it made, people were like, summer blockbuster is now a thing. We are going to do it every summer.
Right.
GoldenEye is like...
It just drove the industry.
We're going to make a major FPS release, first-person shooter, Greg.
Right.
But every year now, yeah.
But Adam, so what you were saying was more like, whereas Doom was like fighting, demons and stuff, Wolfenstein was
really
Nazis.
Gory and violent.
Right. GoldenEye was like almost like a Super Mario Brothers way into first-person shooters.
Don't you think?
As someone who doesn't know much about...
Because the people look like Lego people, sort of?
Well, because they were, again...
just because you had an avatar. You had like this heroic avatar,
Yes,
right?
an avatar who we have decided culturally is not responsible for human death.
Right.
They just aren't.
Right,
and that's fine.
The movie's already established he can kill whoever.
Right, and they took this... But they did take the sex out. They didn't put all the sex scenes in there.
Moneypenny was trying to force it. Every Moneypenny, I cannot stress this enough.
But you never get legs strangled by
Xenia Onatopp.
Yeah, that never happened.
And I had seen the movie as a kid, so I was waiting for. I'm like, when are they going to CG?
When is that sauna happening?
Moneypenny references a threesome. She references a threesome in the video game.
Right. And that was Slapper's only love.
James, how dare you, James?
I'm the proximity mine now. So like I just
talk about shortest innings. Another thing is the superlatives you would earn are pointless, but my friends were obsessed with they loved finding out what superlative, as did I.
Of course. But I do think that there's a reason we took the sex out because it wouldn't be a teen. The game was rated teen, not mature.
Exactly.
So it would sell to younger people. And this was the first game that I can remember where the thing you shoot reacts like a person.
Right.
Yeah.
And we all listed it. That's like why we love it. Like, you shoot him in the leg and it's hilarious. We're like,
it's not just why we love it, but we've all, I think, observed accurately. That's a major reason that game sold so much and launched the genre and all that shit.
That's what made it great. Exactly.
Yeah.
It was, and like,
we mentioned this before, is that I think there's a very interesting aspect to gaming because it's the only medium that is interactive instead of like, I don't know, performance art installation or whatever. That's a factor. It's crazy to me that there's an art form where a factor is like, there's so many games that overlook this and it ruined, and they did everything else. Like the design is cool, the story's cool, they have enough enemies, they did everything right. But when you click attack and it hits the guy, he just stands there and his life bar just drains. Like the viscerality of the moment to moment thing you're doing. That's what sells a game.
Yeah.
Like in Minecraft, the fact that when you hit the block, it feels good. And when the mineral pops out, it feels like you scratched a lotto ticket and you won one. That's your game. Like that sells the game. It's this low level, like, what does it feel like?
It's probably why like the RPG games like Final Fantasy, where like you're just watching data. Like you're in a fight where data's being exchanged, basically. Have you played a Final Fantasy? Do you know what they look like?
Never played.
I can't explain it.
Well,
in a way, like,
I totally agree with you.
There was so much disappointment in Adam's face when I said that.
No, you're right. When it got to the point where it's no longer turn-based,
unvarnished rage,
and it was just
I can't. Get out of here.
I think EverQuest started it.
Yeah.
Your moves were basically just, you couldn't unsee it. A series of timers that measured how long until the enemy dies. You know what I mean?
And
like,
that's not that fun because what's more fun is, and
I shot him in the foot and he acted like I shot him in the foot.
Exactly. It is more fun. Like, that's it.
I shot his hat off and he acted exactly like someone acts when you shoot their hat
No,
off.
they didn't though. They didn't react to it.
It was a joke. It was just a joke.
It's amazing that Nintendo was the company that got a hold of this property. That's a really startling thing.
Well,
and rare.
Go for it. I want to hear what you go for.
No, sure. I mean, the one thing we haven't talked about that I found out a few years ago is that the multiplayer thing was added on last minute.
Interesting.
Did you guys know about that?
Yeah, a programmer was like, I think I could do a blah, blah, blah.
Right.
We're like, sure, add it on.
The reason, the reason like it blew up is because of that.
Absolutely.
And that was last
That's
fucking
like
minute.
An all-time hero of gaming is whoever was like, let's just throw them all in the same room and they shoot at each other. It's like,
But I don't know. I don't know about like the background of like how it ended up in Nintendo or whatever.
Well, it's not the story of it. I'm sure is not that interesting. I just think
the license rights.
Yeah, I just think Nintendo, which already at that point was definitely making games for kids. They were like that was their market, and like that they had the forward thinking to buy a James Bond game. Like how many good movie ports to games are there? There's not that many.
Question. Is this the greatest video game based on a movie?
I think so. I can't.
That I can think of without pausing so long that it'll be boring. Yeah, definitely.
With my very limited knowledge, I would say. So.
I really like TIE Fighter. That flight simulator TIE Fighter. But I can't.
What is that based on?
Was that
TIE Fighter?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
It's based on these.
I couldn't tell if you were trolling me. I was like, all right.
No,
it's about a martial
I was
artist.
thinking of a movie named TIE Fighter. Yeah,
it's about a martial artist from
thought
Thailand.
It was a TIE Fighter. I didn't think you meant the Star Wars.
Like TIE, right.
THAI.
Someone of Thai descent.
Plays Thai boxing. Yeah.
A human of Thai descent fights his way.
Fights a spaceship in space.
What 80s Eric Roberts movie did I not see about fighting?
There was also a Mac PC TIE Fighter game that was pretty great that I forget the name of.
I think that's what I'm talking
TIE
about.
Fighter 2?
TIE Fighter, yeah.
That's funny because we just recorded Dead Space and you shit on the turret part. And what I was going to bring up is that whole game is just the turret part of Dead Space. And I love that
It's
game.
really good, yeah.
So, I don't know. Times change. Your standards raised because you've seen more shit. But I also want to mention, just because you brought up Final Fantasy, it reminded me at the beginning, Greg mentioned, Adam, have you ever made a physical object for a game?
Oh, yeah.
Because the only one I ever made was for Final Fantasy VII, because if you tape down the right buttons, you could leave, and in a certain area, if you're powered up enough, you could just leave the attack button pressed down, and have your guy walk in a circle.
And just defeat everything?
Could come back the next day, and he would have killed so many things that he's now level 99.
That's crazy. No, I can't think of ever having done that.
That's the only time I made a little cardboard
how long
thing.
would you leave it on?
like overnight. Like turn it on, do that,
Oh
and
my
go to
God.
sleep. Yeah.
I mean, that's great though, because you
You
don't
can
have
look
to
it
do
up.
that
It's
work.
a famous Final Fantasy
Yeah.
VII exploit in like the Chocobo plane.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Because I hate doing that work in Final Fantasy. It
Oh, I
sucks.
know the grindy shit.
Yeah. No, I can't
Never
think of
built
Is
one.
this
anything.
like gold farming? Is that what you're talking about?
Kind of, but
like
yeah,
that.
but farming experience points to get to max level.
I might have
really
had
fast.
some kind of. I might have added or changed the scope on the on the bazooka
The
thing
light
for
gun?
SNES.
Oh,
Remember?
the bazooka one.
I had one of those, which was fine, and I might have changed the sight on it because I remember the sight being crappy.
Yeah.
But I can't remember ever making a thing to hack a game. I can't remember that. I love that you did that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So we've already mentioned that none of us think that it's necessarily crucial that it takes place within the world of James Bond.
It's not crucial in terms of why we bought the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I'm setting up is the question, what the fuck happened with Perfect Dark then? Because it has all the same elements implemented the same.
And I will-
the only difference is it's not in the James Bond universe.
I will answer that question with this. What the fuck is Perfect Dark?
Exactly.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
highlights my point is this game was like the Star
It was
Wars
supposed to be
or
the sequel.
Jaws of that year. The next year, Rare, the same company, the same developers, developed another game with better graphics, all the same mechanics.
Oh.
It just wasn't James Bond. It was called Perfect Dark. And they're like, it didn't matter that it was James Bond. This is the sequel to GoldenEye. It's just a girl spy that we made up doing her spy shit. And it's just as smooth and good and well designed. No one gave a shit. No one I know talks about it still or has heard of it.
Never heard.
Any
of it.
theories,
Yeah,
Adam?
well,
I
I
know
mean,
you've heard of it, but like, what the
it
fuck
was,
happened
it was
with
marketed to everyone as the sequel to GoldenEye.
And
it
then
was a
everyone
sequel,
was
yes.
like, we don't care. And I don't,
Yes.
I don't want to know why that happened.
My theory, I mean, maybe I just have a darker view of human nature than you do. My theory is that because it got a little more sci-fi, that it felt more distant from an action movie, like a legit, like killing people action movie. And I think people like that. I really do. And I don't think like because of the bloodiness.
But like Super Mario World belies that. You know what I'm getting.
But again, this is a first person shooter. So like we've
But
set up in people like a certain expectation, and Perfect Dark is a little more abstract from that.
But you're still shooting tons of human people, in
but
it
not
through
with
the whole
guns
game.
that you could see in real life.
Okay,
not
yeah, that's true.
not with
It takes
things-
place like 40 years in the future. It has sci-fi elements.
and not with, and therefore
then
not
only-
with people really.
So
like
what
these
year
are,
was this?
But like, there's so many FPSs
2000 maybe?
that are my
2001.
favorite.
But then only a year later was like Halo, wasn't it?
Well, yeah,
That's
Halo
what I'm saying
obliterated
is
everything.
maybe it's people saw the opportunity and just rushed in and filled the space because also Call of Duty came in between.
Oh, did
I
it?
think
That might be
Steals
why
the
too.
Thunder,
And
yeah.
also, you can't have a GoldenEye experience twice. It's like the third. It's like the third man, right? You watch that movie once, and then you've seen it.
Oh my
You know,
god,
Like,
total different topic for a different day. But I saw it once and was like, eh.
oh, I'm sorry to hear that. 'cause I love.
But
I love
did you
Third
say
Man.
that Perfect Dark you played as a woman?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so the easiest thing would be like, is it because
have a real hot
No,
take right
I'm
now.
saying the easiest
I mean, there's
thing.
your problem, dude.
The easiest criticism I could give is that like, was it because it was a woman?
I'm sure that somebody cared about that. But Metroid, you play as a woman.
Yeah,
and
but you don't know
Metroid's
that.
really. Yeah, you do. In the
a
first
lot
game.
Of, a lot of people, no, but a lot of people I play with didn't know that.
That's interesting.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
And you didn't know
think,
until the end of the first
I
game.
don't
Right.
think that's why. I really think it's that it was that when you make something science fiction, or at least back in the day, when you made something science fiction, it whittled down the amount of people that are interested in it.
But that's what
You
I'm
know,
saying
like-
is, nowadays,
Now it wouldn't matter.
I do think things
Right.
evolve, like I said, because nowadays some of them,
Oh, with
some of
this-
the best-selling first-person shooters, you're shooting crazy aliens and monsters that
Yeah.
look nothing, or like in Destiny, you shoot giant orbs or like a floating maw in space and
Yeah.
shit like that. Yeah.
Not to hang too long on the sexist aspect of it, though, but
But
to,
let's
to
talk about
track
that.
back. No, to track back to GoldenEye, when you would say no Oddjob, right?
Yeah.
The girl that you could play as, I forget her name.
Was
she
it the love
Moonraker
interest?
or something?
Natalia?
No,
Was it
no.
Natalia?
You could play as. Well, you weren't playing as Natalia. You were playing as like a scientist or something. There was
Okay.
a girl option
Could
in
you
the
play as
multiplayer.
Xenia on a time?
No,
I don't
no.
think you could.
You
yeah.
could play as a I forget what the woman's thing was, what her name was, but she was barely taller than Oddjob. But no one ever said don't play as her because it was like assumed you weren't going to play as a girl. You know what
That's
I mean?
Oh,
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah,
That's
because you would say no
interesting.
Oddjob, but like she was almost the same exact cheat was playing with her.
I would pick randomly every time. I don't care,
Oh,
but that stuff didn't.
I always played as Alec Trevelyan or James Bond because they were slightly faster.
Oh, actually, isn't Baron
Was that
Samedi
true?
playable?
I
They were
always
slightly
figured that
faster.
it was true with Bond.
I think
know
it
it
is.
with Bond.
I
never knew
just
if it was
remember
actually
feeling like
true.
they were slightly faster. It might be
Right.
placebo.
But again, in
Right,
all
yeah.
these
Yeah.
cases, none of us were choosing that person because we're like, I just love Trevelyan. I just want to imagine that I'm being him. Like, I still don't think the world of GoldenEye is what sold it. Yeah.
For England, James?
I mean, we didn't talk about the last level for GoldenEye at all. That fucking last level where he's
Yeah, it
like
was really tough.
sprinting around.
Yeah.
But also
Oh,
like just
so
the,
hard. I actually,
but just like
I
the-
got pissed
the-
off at it.
The build up of it, like the music aspect of it, was fucking incredible.
Yeah.
And I never felt anything like that before the game. Was there anything else like the music fucking like went
Yes.
nuts when you had to like sprint around and chase
Actually,
after him?
a huge part is they got access to the score from the James Bond
And
franchise.
It had great
Because
music. Yeah.
a really hot take of mine I love to say is I actually think without the James Bond theme, the franchise would not nearly have been propelled as long as
I
it
totally
has.
agree with that.
Sure.
The James Bond theme is up there with the Super Mario theme as like, man, that score deserves so much credit for how successful the thing is.
Yeah.
The James Bond theme fucking rules.
Yeah, it rules.
But also,
really
I mean,
good.
the other part of the soundtrack in that game is really good too.
Yeah.
like the whole soundtrack is really good.
Yeah.
That could be a thing. I mean, Perfect Dark does not feel that way. It's a
No.
generic, like carpeted, like techno futurescape sound.
It's
just
weird
synth
that
shit.
they abandoned everything about James Bond for a sequel
But
and
they-
assumed it wouldn't matter.
They didn't. Oh, you don't mean gameplay wise? I was like, you still
they
shoot people
They
in the leg.
abandoned the
and
James Bondness of
Right,
the
right,
game,
right.
and like at that time, James Bond was still cool.
They might not.
Now it's
I
not,
wonder if
you know,
they
like-
Right.
couldn't
couldn't get the deal, the second
That
deal
must
or
be part of
whatever.
why.
Maybe.
Or maybe Tomorrow Never Dies doesn't port as well to a video game or whatever. You know, like that was.
Or
the
they
sequel.
just took a grand gamble on the
No,
idea
there was a sequel. Wasn't there
Later.
Tomorrow Never Dies or something?
Yeah.
I
Did they
never
make that
played
game?
it, but I thought there was.
You mean a game? I was
Yeah.
like,
They-
yeah,
they
there
made
were more
a-
James Bond
They
movies
made another
after that.
James Bond game.
No, I
They
mean
made
a
another
game.
James
They
Bond
did.
game.
I
Yeah.
think it was
Interesting.
Tomorrow Never Dies. I never
might have
played
been.
it, but I think it was.
But
It's
like, do you want to
crazy-
kill a newspaper man? Is that what
I'll
you,
just
you know?
say
Is that what that? I don't remember what the plot of that was.
that is
a
unusual.
newspaper man.
Yeah, yeah.
It
He
is
runs the
unusual.
Tomorrow.
It is unusual in the history of gaming that a game is that important and doesn't also have 3 to 7
Yes.
sequels that are equally important or sold equally well.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. What didn't they recapture with
Right.
each game?
And it might have been, I think a part of it might have been because Nintendo, we have discovered, likes to carve out their own niche and like own it. They want to own the character and the property. So maybe Perfect Dark was their attempt to be like, can we extract everything we did out of James Bond so that it'll be something Nintendo owns and can push forward? You know?
Right. Yeah.
I forget the plot, but it was pretty, yeah, like Adam said, just straightforward sci-fi bullshit.
I mean, also just remember, like right around this, like right after this, we have a bunch of different entries into all the things that GoldenEye does well that are all better in some aspect or the other. Like for instance, there's what's the name of that series? Splinter Cell. You've probably never heard of Splinter Cell, but Splinter Cell
Heard of
is
it. Never played it.
basically a game series where you play a spy and it's just the stealth stuff,
Okay.
and it's awesome.
which
yeah.
GoldenEye had almost no elements of.
It had a little
I
bit
mean,
of silence, like a little bit of sneaking around.
yes, but functionally, Sam Fisher,
Is a
like
stealth
you
spy.
press a button to hide in shadow, you press a button to get up on the ceiling.
Right.
Whereas James Bond, yeah, you could hide by moving behind a thing, but this game is like all the buttons do stealth things. That's his
GoldenEye,
goal.
but that's we forgot to say this. GoldenEye, I think, was the first-person shooter that had stealth at all.
That's cool.
It might be the like.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
I think it might be the first one that ever had.
That even had enemies who could be unaware and then
Yeah.
become aware.
right,
if you-
like
Right.
people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know, like yeah.
Is it before Metal Gear Solid? It's got to
Yes.
be graphic wise. Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
It
Because
is.
that was PS1.
Correct. PS1 was before. I don't know. It's around that time.
PS1 was 95 though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think Metal Gear Solid. I can't believe you know that. Metal
The
Gear Solid.
I had
PS1 in
PS1.
95 based on a film by Pierce Brosnan.
I wish I would have done that to that. But no, I mean, like, I had PS1.
Also, your point about the controller, I think
Oh boy.
the N64 controller was uniquely unsuited to have first-person shooter controls like placed upon it, and they did pretty well considering. But like every notable N64 first-person shooter, like Turok or what have you, you're always like, this controller is not really conducive to an FPS experience. The
I
PS
don't even know
controllers.
what that means.
You know the three-pronged
it had the
controller.
three-pronged.
You played the
I'm saying, but
N64.
isn't conducive to an FPS experience, because when I think of an FPS experience, it is GoldenEye.
Because that's all,
Right.
that's the
all I
one you
fucking
played.
know.
If somebody
me,
had
yeah, go ahead.
unplugged that Nintendo 64 controller and plugged in a better one,
Like a
that was
DualShock
and
PS4
you played the
controller.
same game, and you would be like, "Oh, this is way better."
His skill,
I've
also
tried
his
to play
skill would
stuff
double.
since.
Yeah.
There's too many buttons when I've tried to play stuff since. On like the newer consoles, I'm
Yeah.
lost. I'm totally
Yo,
lost.
we should get together and play Perfect Dark, though. I would like
That
to.
would be
you should play
interesting.
through Perfect Dark and comment.
Incidentally, it looks like Rare turned down the ability to make a sequel.
I
with
felt
Nintendo.
like they were high off their own success, and they were like, now let's get our own thing going that we made.
They
you know?
didn't want to make another James Bond game.
Yeah.
Even
So
though, yeah.
poor creative decision.
Well, I think it was a purely creative decision. Certainly wasn't a commercial one.
Right. Exactly.
You know, like I think they were just like, no, we did a Bond movie and that's it. You know, we don't
It's
wanna-
interesting that Rare is, in my mind, Rare is best known for James Bond, GoldenEye, and the Donkey Kong series. What a weird combo of things they do.
Didn't they also do Banjo Kazooie?
Yes.
So some
Yeah.
other stuff. Yeah.
But have you played the latest Banjo Kazooie
Oh, no.
that got like crowdfunded?
No,
It's like an insult.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible.
you'd like this. You'd like
I don't
Banjo.
know what you're talking about.
You might like the
It's an
original
insult.
Banjo Kazooie.
My favorite thing is that we know you don't know, but you still bother to look like you're confused.
I'm trying to figure it out,
You
to be
still
honest.
bother
You don't have to
I'm
tell-
noob. I'm trying to figure out what the hell you guys are talking about.
You don't have to telegraph your confusion. We'll assume you don't know what the fuck's going on. For our benefit.
It's really
You're
a
like,
courtesy to us, I think.
yeah. Well, he knows acting is reacting. He's trying to give us that confused energy.
He's always
We're
been a very
filming this, right?
generous actor.
This isn't a new episode of Escort.
No, don't say that. People really want us to start filming these, and I can't be bothered, so don't say that.
It costs too
my
much money.
Well, we have the webcams already. For me, it's too much effort
Mm,
to edit.
I see.
Oh.
It is a lot of work to edit those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're over time. There was a final thought that occurred to me that I just want to bring up Time Splitters to Adam to see
Yeah.
the look of sheer confusion on
I don't know
Greg's
what
face.
that is either.
No, I think it's a perfect example of what you're saying is shortly after that, other people just like got
into the
on
fray.
board hard and
Yeah.
made minor improvements. Like I would consider Time Splitters 2 better than GoldenEye, but it's just taking everything GoldenEye did and
Right.
using the improved technology to make it a little sharper.
There were, I mean, again, Halo was the big leap forward. I would like the new entry that changed this. I mean, maybe
I would
Call of
argue
Duty.
it created a different subgenre because FPS that's also combined with massive areas that include vehicle travel and shit, that's uniquely Halo.
That's
And
true.
that created things like Battlefield.
It
and,
did.
Yeah.
What carried on what GoldenEye is?
Man, yeah, I don't
Nothing.
know. What's a basic first-person shooter where you shoot humans?
Call of Duty.
Yeah, but it's historical.
See, I think this is actually like an interesting part because I went to a bachelor party weekend like, 7 or 8 years ago where we were at a cabin in upstate New York and there was an N64 there.
Yeah.
And there were a ton of guys who were not gamers, who, like me, hadn't played first-person shooters since the 90s, and we fucking played GoldenEye.
Yeah.
I had a great time.
For hours,
Yeah.
and they don't play Halo, they don't play anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, what is there any other kind of game like that where you could fucking pick it up and just play? It was so easy to just fucking play.
There's an indie game I forget the name of that is that. Like, it's literally exaggerated. All the characters are like ragdolls. So, like, you shoot him in the arm and his arm, like, flops. Like, and it's multiplayer, basically GoldenEye. But I think Adam's right that in AAA gaming, there's no true successor because we're used to so much more now.
There's an evolution. Yeah.
Okay, so, like, you know how I think this is one of the most insightful things Jack O'Brien ever made me aware of is film lexicon has actually evolved in density and complexity in a way that's very interesting to track and almost makes you like ponder how the fucking human brain works because the trailer for Die Hard 1 is like a guy going, John McClane is just a regular cop. I'm going to pitch you the plot of Die Hard and hold your hand through this trailer. Then you go to like, what's the trailer for Die Hard 4? It was just like a single shot of a door with like a shadow of feet walking by with Christmas music playing, and it said coming soon in the Die Hard font. That relies on you, the audience, knowing the Die Hard font, knowing the
It's
score,
Christmas.
knowing the,
Yeah.
So we rely on, like, viewers are more sophisticated now. And here's my point. now when I play a first-person shooter, because I've been playing video games continuously and they have gotten more and more complex, if a new game was as simple as GoldenEye, I'd be like, there's no cover-based component. There's no crafting or upgrading. It's so simple.
Every
It's like nothing.
every first-person shooter after this assumed that you already know GoldenEye.
And you
You already
a
play
twist on
GoldenEye.
it. Yeah.
Now you want another thing.
Now you want something more.
Yeah.
Right.
And they give you something more. Halo is more than GoldenEye. I don't think that makes it better, but it's more.
Definitely is. Yeah.
You know?
And every notable FPS that's splintered off from GoldenEye basically was GoldenEye plus, but we added this, which is our signature thing in our franchise.
No, I mean, I wish I could play Halo the way I used to play GoldenEye, but it's whatever my brain is, it's just not there for me to follow through on it, for me to pick it up. You know what I mean?
Halo 2's I found very simple. Like, we LAN partied the shit out of Halo 2, and it still felt pretty much like GoldenEye.
Well, see, Halo is also a transitional form of sorts because Halo's the last big multiplayer game that didn't have an online component. See, the thing,
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So Halo 2 was the first online game. Meaning, like, first online multiplayer game.
But Halo
that,
1 wasn't.
No. So you had to bring an Xbox and a couple other TVs and, like, link
And
them all
special
together.
cords and
That's
shit.
it.
And,
I
like,
only know it as an online thing.
Yeah. And that didn't start till Halo 2. So GoldenEye is this unique artifact where it sort of launched an industry that left it behind very quickly.
Sure, yeah.
Where, like, you had to have your friends in the room together. That's part of what makes it fun.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do it online, right?
Wouldn't you rather have that now, though?
I would.
With these games that you have now that have
Yes.
the advanced graphics and the advanced mechanics.
I mean, I shit on Call of Duty on this show all the time, which is the best-selling, like,
But if you could do
most
that in a
bankable
room
franchise
with everyone.
but I'm saying I would rather have X number of new GoldenEyes than however many Call of Duties there have been, personally.
But I just mean, even with these new games that you love that you play online, if you
couch
could just
co-op?
play them with fucking 20 people in a room.
Except split screen. I think the reason
People don't
online
like split
multiplayer
screen, right?
became so popular is people got sick of split screen and now they can't go back. They're too spoiled.
Like, if I could get 5 people in a room with me with different televisions and we could all do a raid in Destiny together, that would be, and not have to use headsets and stuff and, like, just play the game.
Yeah.
That would be super duper fun. I know you don't know what it is. It's okay.
Like, if there's
But,
screens
like,
all around the room
it's
and
like
you
a,
each
it's like
face
a
a different
first person
way.
shooter like Halo, but you all cooperate to achieve
Kill
an
one
objective.
giant monster.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's really fun.
And it takes like 6 hours to kill the monster.
Yeah, there's
It's
a lot of
like
puzzles and
commitment.
stuff. Yeah. But that would be more fun in person. But again, I think the video game industry assumes you want to have your big TV.
Right.
You want to have your own private sort of,
Surround sound experience.
Yeah, I
and if
guess.
you want that in-person feel, get on the chat.
And also, our
chat
gamers
and-
are getting
yeah.
older, and we want to sell to older gamers too, who
No,
don't
I
want to
mean,
hang out with their friends like that.
I get that, but I look at my nephews now that are growing up with the whole, LAN parties. That's what they're called,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm sorry, I look
No, you're
like
right.
a babe in the woods. LAN party, is that the right thing?
They
Teach
call
me.
They call
Teach
it.
me. Yeah. What do I do?
They
So-
call it rolling. It's. I think it's something with a drugs.
But I look at my
With drugs.
I look at my nephews now, and they're playing that stuff where it's just you're not connected with anything. Maybe you don't even know the fucking people, but you don't even know the people. But like, they don't have that ability to just fuck around with a bunch of friends in the same room,
Right.
playing those same types of games, but you're experiencing it together in the same room. It's like a fucking arcade.
I think that's one of the reasons Rock Band became this weird, freaky anomaly.
Oh,
where it was
that's a
the
good
most
point,
important
yeah.
thing in everyone's life for
Right.
2 years. Then everyone completely forgot about it. Is
It had that
because
vibe.
it brought back the feeling of being in an arcade with your friends at your home, and it wasn't split
It
screen.
wasn't split
It
screen.
somehow
Oh,
avoided
okay.
doing
That's
that.
the
yeah.
smart thing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. That's for real smart. I mean, again, I'm just going to be an old person postulating about what it's like for kids now, but like, I don't think they feel or know the difference between like sharing something via a screen, like having a computer
Well, they definitely
interaction,
don't know. They don't know.
and maybe because they didn't grow up with it, they wouldn't care the same amount. Like, it's hard for me
Well, I
to
guess
know.
then you have to just consider like what is human interaction in general, then how important is that? Because that's
Right.
really what it is.
Well,
it's
there
you
are-
experiencing something with someone else physically.
There are a bunch of statistical studies saying, like, when they ask people what their main issues are that are negative in their life, this is a study they've done over and over. For the first time, the most common number one answer these days is loneliness. So like loneliness is on the rise. Everyone talks about this. It's obvious why.
Right.
Internet and phone and shit, and everyone's busy and whatever. But that's a real thing. Like loneliness is, I think kids today are more used to loneliness. Like every day after school, if I didn't see one of my friends, it was weird. Kids today are like, I'll talk to them on chat. I don't need to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do a Google Hangout with them or whatever.
Right. But
Yeah.
to us older people,
Right.
it does feel like you lost something. Because, yeah, it was fun to be together.
I can tell you that, like, I spend a fair amount of my free time, which is, less and less these days, but, like, a fair amount of my free time playing games alone. And I do have afternoons and evenings where I'm like, man, I wish there was some social version of this. And, like, we played Smash Brothers together at your place with a bunch of friends who we invited over impromptu. And it was one of the most fun video game experiences I've had in a long time. And I don't care that much about Smash Brothers, So there are things that are designed for that, like Smash Brothers. Have you played Smash Brothers? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, we did an episode of Escort.
Yeah. No, we might
Do you
not
remember
have.
Evolved? Is that the name of that one?
Oh my god!
Because
Is that why I
talking
had the
about
seizure?
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
talking about
Right? I
just
love
remember
that ending, man.
you were talking
yeah.
about 80 things at once. That's the first game I ever played where I, as a lifelong veteran gamer who's arguably like plays them too much, might be addicted to them. I was like, we've added too many things. The screen is just a flashing. I
mess.
don't know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Total mess.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nuts. Monster Hunter World was also kind of like that.
Too much.
People have been asking us to cover it, and I got to say I'm not going to because I'm not willing to finish it because you're playing it and there's like just too much things going on. I'm not going to deal with it.
I mean, yeah, we have to play games we like, or at least are interested in. I think you're right. I just don't know. I don't know what drives people not to make social in-person games other than people don't buy as many copies. So there's probably that.
I mean, I think that's definitely the number one thing. Like, yeah, why would they? There's no monetary reason to do so. But I just mean, I just like what I'm trying to get out of my nephews is that like they don't know, and they don't care, like you said, because that's all they know is not having a connection while they're playing video games. But I feel like that's a huge fucking part of.
Well, that's what the whole history of the actual physical arcade was.
Of like that whole aspect. And
Nintendo continues to try to make reasons to
They
do
try
it.
harder than any other
The
company.
Wii, was like the Wii was like a system that was based around having a remote.
This sounds silly, but
a
actually,
wand.
Wii bowling was a phenomenon for a little minute.
Yeah.
Was it?
Everyone was Wii bowling together and having Wii bowling parties.
Like people would come over and they would use this motion control thing to do these video
And it
games.
did feel
that are-
like
Or kids
we
doing
get
it,
to go
or
to
just
bowl-
like
yeah.
older people.
No,
we get to
everybody.
go to a bowling alley
Yeah.
for free. This is fun. It feels like I'm at the bowling alley. Yeah.
and like they just came out with a thing called Labo. Did you guys end up doing that too?
Labo. That's the cardboard construction kit that I asked you to cover, and you said yes, and I flaked.
Oh, I remember
And then
that.
so much time passed that I looked into it, and it's like, no one fucking cares. No one's talking about
Yeah,
Labo.
yeah.
I thought it was going to be huge, and we'd have to cover it,
Right.
but no one gives a shit. For the record, listeners, if you really care, mention it, because I have every Labo kit that's available. I purchased them all in preparation for covering Labo.
Yeah.
And it was
I
like
flaked on this too.
$250 worth of stuff, and they're just sitting in a closet of this Nintendo cardboard game.
feel terrible.
So sad.
It is
Yeah.
sad.
So sad.
I mean, it came out of our business budget.
The
but-
truth is that neither you nor I were like excited to do it.
And when I found out it's not a huge hit,
it was like, well,
we're
then
off
fuck
the hook.
this. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but sure, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was going to be me, you, and Dana Vincent Gord, which would have been a fun
That would've
group.
been fun.
Oh, and my mom, which I thought that would have been a good...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, because Nintendo's whole point, and Labo puts this forward too, is, like Adam said, some games are for fans. Like Zelda games are for fans and people who know gaming. But a lot of their games are open to like they were really proud of old people at retirement homes play Wii bowling. Like it got them up off there and it increased their heart health and shit. They would have that in their promos and shit. So like, I forget where I'm going with this, but
they're providing the communal in-person experience that you wish was more present in video games.
Yes.
Or trying to.
well, they're selling themselves on the idea that they do that better than any other current game company. And I think they definitely put more effort in than any other game company.
Yeah.
All right, let's pass our final checkpoint. I definitely wanted to let GoldenEye belong, so I let it belong.
And we
but
did it.
Now we are to our final portion, keep or delete, where we basically just say if you have any final thoughts and whether you think this game should get locked in a time capsule or go in the... Ooh, I know a metaphor Greg will roll with. Like, should this go in the Baseball Hall of Fame
Yes.
of video
Yes.
games?
That's a good
You
metaphor.
know what? This is a first ballot induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame, okay? It reaches the 75% minimum you
Dang.
need of
Dang.
votes, and it's in there.
I mean, there's not that many things that get in first round of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Mariano Rivera just did it, and he was the first one in a while. He was actually the first.
I know he deserves it. I just don't care about him.
Greg just passed
Anonymous.
the confusion ball and hard. Now I'm the Greg.
Michael, who's Mariano Rivera? Do you know?
I mean, the audience should know.
Wasn't that the sequel to Mario where he can pull the turnips out?
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
good,
It's
good.
me, Mariano Rivera.
I'm gonna close this game for you.
I want to throw one a pitch. Yeah,
3 strikes, 1 a pitch.
one a pitch. Okay. So keep. Yeah, I would like what.
We've had, this is not a controversial episode. There are episodes where there's a question. We're all going to keep it alive.
I'm gonna keep this.
I
for
feel
sure.
like our show would get canceled somehow if we didn't all keep this.
James Bond would break in.
GoldenEye, yes, keep, obviously.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's harder to decide. But
I'm just
yeah,
trying to remember if
it's
there's anything
an
I haven't
obvious keep.
that I want to say about the game that I haven't. I mean,
Secretly, this is just our letting the guests know we're wrapping up. Do you have a final joke or thought? You know what I mean?
oh fuck. The Klob is a terrible weapon. You guys remember the
Oh,
Klob?
yeah.
Also, the Moonraker. It was so
The laser's less good
The
than you want.
concept of I got a laser is so exciting, and then when you start using it,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm not going to use this.
But you were better off throwing bullets at someone than trying to shoot them with the Klob.
It was real bad.
That was a fucking terrible weapon. I
hey,
remember that.
gun experts out there in La La listener land, is that true of the Klob? I wonder if because that's a real
Can we
gun.
hear from you, please?
No, is dude,
Can you try and shoot us?
there's someone who knows. Was the Klob a notoriously not accurate weapon in real life? I
no,
wonder.
wait. Is it a real weapon?
The Klob is a real weapon, or it's based on a real weapon.
Don't know.
It's probably based on a real weapon, but I feel like the Klob isn't a real name
Go
for a
fuck
weapon.
yourself. Okay, so
Klob
Greg,
can't be a real name.
So Greg and I, to cater to the innate desire every human has, Greg and I are going to co-host a podcast where we just describe what we think it would feel like to kill someone. And
Using a club.
You experience that by listening to the show. Till next time.
Adios.
Oh, is that it?
Work complete.
This has been a Small Beans endeavor. We're a bunch of pals who make podcasts, sketches, music, web series, and movies. The Beans always have new ideas percolating, so make sure to check us out at patreon.com/smallbeans. That's patreon.com/smallbeans, where you can browse all of our current and past content, see what we've got planned in the future, and learn how your support can help the small beans grow into huge, giant monster beans. If you enjoyed this content module, please like, rate, subscribe, or tell a friend about us. We love you.